Electric cars. There's no denying they've made the leap from niche to mainstream with more affordable models and more choice.
But when it comes to the premium end of the market, cars that are a little bit more luxurious, there's really been a choice of Tesla.
And Tesla, really.
Yeah, that's it.
But over the past year, that's changed.
So first up was Jaguar with the multi-award winning I-Pace beating its German rivals to it. However, hot on the heels, Audi arrived with the e-tron SUV. And now we're joined, finally, by the long-awaited Tesla Model 3.
Now, strictly speaking, these three cars aren't rivals at all because there is a big difference in price. But we've brought the three of them together because, well, they are the premium EVs of the moment.
They're each desirable in different ways. They're packed with the latest tech, and of course, being electric, they're all very fast.
It's so quick, isn't it? In this review, we're going to be talking about range, how easy the cars are to live with, and of course what they're like to drive. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you click on the little bell icon, you'll get a notification when our latest video has landed. And you can follow us on all the usual social channels.
Right, let's start with the most important thing, range.
The Audi e-tron has a 95 kilowatt-hour battery, which gives a range of around 248 miles. And over the week that I lived with the car, I was getting very close to that range, which for me really matters because an accurate range means that you can plan your journeys with confidence. When it comes to charging, it's going to take around 13 hours on a home charging wall box, get to a rapid charger, and that time drops to around 30 minutes. But one thing I think is very clever is that you get a charging port neatly hidden away there on either side of the car.
Just like the Audi, in the Jag, you get a 95 kilowatt-hour battery and four-wheel drive. But in the Jag, you get a range of 292 miles. Connect up to a rapid charger and you get an 80% recharge in 85 minutes. Connected up to a wall box at home, and that's 12 hours, 40 minutes. Oh, and you charge it up just here. There's a Type 2 connector there and a CCS one just there.
The Model 3 is different to the other two because you get a range of options. Range? Get it? Oh, I'm really bad with jokes, sorry. The entry-level model range plus model gets a 60 kilowatt-hour battery that gives a 258 mile range, whilst the long range and performance models get a 75 kilowatt-hour. The performance gives 329 miles of range, while you get an impressive 348 with the long range. Charged at home, they'll take around 13 hours. That drops to 70 minutes on a rapid charger. But the big bonus with the Model 3 is that you can use Tesla's supercharging network. Do that and you can get an 80% top up in around 30 minutes. And there's no flap on the side of the car covering up the charging port. As on the Tesla, it's neatly hidden away in the rear light cluster.
Well, there's no denying the Tesla does look good, but it's the Jaguar, isn't it? It's the most daring, isn't it?
It just turns heads,
I know,
this car.
I know.
Not that the Tesla doesn't, but there's something about it. It's a bit dull, isn't it?
It just looks like, well, an Audi SUV and a bit dull.
That's the one that turns heads.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Style is always subjective, but I think the Model 3 is the best looking Tesla yet, with a smart, smooth shape that's even a bit Porsche-like, although Ginny and I can't agree on the wheels. What do you think to them?
The I-Pace is marketed as an SUV, but really it's a car that's very hard to define. Think of it as a sporty hatchback with a raised ride height. But that doesn't really matter because the I-Pace is just a great piece of design and has picked up a vast array of awards, including Auto Express Car of the Year for 2018 and an unprecedented 3 World Car of the Year awards, including ones for Best Overall Car and Best Design.
The Audi is also marketed as an SUV and looks far more like an SUV with its chunkier body styling. It's certainly a premium looking thing, but apart from that flared-in grille, it's just another Audi SUV, isn't it? And while that may appeal to some buyers, if you're after something a little different, it may simply be too run-of-the-mill.
And you could well say the same about the interior too. You get Audi's virtual cockpit, and as with all luxury Audis, you get the dual screens which control everything else. The touchpad, the voice activation work really well, and of course everything can be controlled from here on the steering wheel. Now, whilst it is absolutely beautifully built with quality materials, it all feels very normal and very familiar in here. In fact, the only reason you'd know you're in an electric vehicle really is the little plug down there that tells me I've got 122 miles of range left. It's easy to check battery consumption and range, and the sat-nav will take you to the nearest charging point if you're running low. And of course you can opt for loads of extra kit, including a pair of virtual door mirrors that do away with the traditional mirrors and replace them with a pair of high definition cameras which feed an output to a small screen which is mounted in the door. Now, I haven't tried them myself, they're obviously not on this model, but reports from people that have tell me that they are an acquired taste.
Now the I-Pace really does mark a new direction for Jaguar because the quality of this interior is pretty damn good, I have to say. It easily rivals the e-tron because there's a lovely use of high quality materials in here. Lovely plastics, real wood, real metal. The leather in here feels really nice indeed. The quality of the build is great. There's no rattles, no squeaks whatsoever, which is really important in an electric car obviously because you haven't got the engine to drown out those kinds of noises. So the I-Pace scores well in that regard. Now in front of you, you've got a TFT screen, as you'd expect, nice and crisp and sharp. It's mated to Jaguar's in-control system. It's not the best system in the world, but it's good enough. Looks really nice as integrated in the dashboard as well. And lower down here, you've got another screen that controls the climate control. Now this is an HSE, it's a top spec car, and you get these sport seats as standard. They're brilliant actually, they really grip you, they're very comfortable, you can get nice and low, get a fantastic driving position. And in that regard, the I-Pace really does mix sport and luxury, the best out of the three cars here.
As for the Model 3, well, you get a steering wheel and a screen, and as you can see, that's about it. But you know, why do you really need anything else? Tesla always do things differently. And just because we're used to cars that have got banks of dials and switches and displays and screens dotted around the place, it doesn't always have to be like that, does it? This is simplicity itself. The only thing I think it's lacking is perhaps a heads-up display, which would make it easier when you're on the move. Let's turn to build quality though now, because in the past I've often referred to Teslas as technology on wheels. They're a tech company, they're not a car maker. But the build quality in the Model 3 is a huge leap forward. It feels solid, there's no obvious squeaks or rattles. Is it up there with the feeling of the Audi or the Jaguar? No, it's not quite there, but then they've been building cars for an awful lot longer. But this is a huge leap forward for them. On one area they absolutely can't beat Tesla on is here. The infotainment system, the technology, it's outstanding. Everything is controlled by this screen, even down to the mirrors, adjusting the steering wheel, opening the glove box. There's so much to talk about on there, and in this review we just don't have time for it. If you'd like to find out more about the screen, more about the technology on this car, then check out my other video of the Tesla Model 3, which is here on the Carbuyer YouTube channel.
Which one is best will come down to your personal taste. If you like a minimalist interior, then you'll love the Tesla. But if you like luxury, then the Jag and Audi will appeal. But as these three EVs have decent ranges, they won't be used as a second car, so they need good space in the back and in the boot.
Of course, the Model 3 loses out when it comes to boot room, as it's a saloon car and not an SUV. If you're intending to cart around family paraphernalia, then both the Jaguar and the Audi are better up to the job, and the Audi is noticeably larger than the Jaguar in terms of boot space.
One thing to be aware of though is that whilst rear headroom and legroom is good on both the I-Pace and the e-tron, the roofline of the Model 3 makes it slightly impractical for those much over 6 foot to sit comfortably in the back. That's the practical stuff out the way with. What are these three cars like to drive?
It never gets old.
I'm going to the left-hand lane and...
That
curry last night, Ginny. Good lord.
So for the uninitiated, fart mode you find down here in what Tesla call their Easter eggs. They're little treats that you can, you know, they get updated at different times of the year. And this is fart mode. You can get it to fart on demand, fart on the turn signal. You can decide what seats get to fart.
Oh.
And you can even choose the kind of fart you like. Neurostink.
Neurostink's quite good.
It's very good. The best thing is that you forget. So you forget you've got it on.
Yes.
And it's on the turn signal, and then every so often you just indicate, and it just makes...
Oh, that was a long one, that one.
Okay. Right, should we stop being six and actually talk about
Talk
the car?
about the car.
Okay.
The car's less interesting, really. Go for it.
No, it's not. It's not. No, go on, you're in the driving seat. And what do you think, Batch?
I have to say, it's the best Tesla I've driven. It just feels good on the road. It's surprisingly fun. It's surprisingly refined. You can feel Tesla are getting into their stride at developing cars with this one. It's good.
You really can.
Good.
One thing that really impressed me was the braking. I really like the way that the regeneration, so capturing all that energy, starts when you lift off the accelerator.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'll take my foot off the throttle and
it starts then. So when you
slowing down. I'm not doing that at all. That's the car doing it by itself.
So when you actually put the brakes on, they're not as grabby as some electric cars.
Well, no,
particularly
the two cars that we've got here today.
So I like that, and I was also super impressed with the steering.
Yeah.
Very nice, engaging.
Oh, sorry, this car's full of safety systems, and if you don't tell it the car you're going to move lane, it'll take over the steering quite violently. So I should put the turn signal on so it doesn't do that again.
It's like a little. It's like a little guardian angel in the back seat. This car, because it's got so much safety tech on it, and of course, as with all electrics, performance is fantastic. So if you go for the top end performance pack, I mean that is something else, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is the entry level standard one. Drives perfectly nicely. Nice level of acceleration. Not rip. Not sort of neck snapping, but it's a nice usable acceleration.
It's still 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds.
That's quick, isn't it?
It's rapid.
But the performance is really something else. Of course, you get ludicrous mode in the performance, and the performance also gets like torque vectoring and all this kind of stuff to make it go around corners as quickly as possible, and it works really well indeed.
You love torque vectoring.
I love a bit of torque vectoring. Yeah, who doesn't?
So out of the three cars, this is the one that puts the smile on your face when you're driving it.
Oh, easily. I mean, the I-Pace is streets ahead out of not just those two cars, but I think out of electric cars in general. I mean, if you're of the opinion that electric cars can't be fun, you have not driven the I-Pace. And it's a combination of a great chassis and a really powerful electric motor. It's the same. The battery size is the same as the Audi, but the way this car puts its power down, look, okay, for instance, 40 miles an hour, foot flat to the floor.
Woo! You've got 400 horsepower coming from those two electric motors, but you add the all-wheel drive to that, and it really does mean this car is so much fun to drive.
And of course, with an electric car, you've got the instantaneous torque that you get in an electric motor, and it just absolutely
so childish.
It makes a nice noise as well. Did you hear that?
It does.
Listen to that, isn't it?
It does.
Oh, I like that.
It's got the handling that you expect from a Jaguar.
Yes.
You expect a Jaguar to be a great, engaging car to drive, and this has that. I've referred to this before as just a great all-round car that happens to be electric.
And you're absolutely right. This is a heavy car, but it seems the weight seems to disappear in this. It changes direction really quickly. Great steering in this car. You can just feel that this is you're absolutely right. It feels like a properly engineered car that just happens to be powered by electricity. It's great.
But that's because the team behind the driving dynamics at Jaguar are second to none, and they have absolutely worked their magic on this. It's just a shame it costs so much money.
Yeah. But this technology is getting cheaper all the time, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a cheap Jag in a few years' time.
Don't fear that the future is going to be dull, because as long as Jaguar are still making cars like this, electric cars, they don't need to be dull. You knock it out, Batch.
Oh, this is an electric car and it drives so well. The future is in safe hands, ladies and gentlemen. Fear not.
So actually, Audi e-tron feels so different to the other two, doesn't it? It's such a heavy car. It's 2.5 tons.
And you can feel it.
Yeah, you can.
Even in the passenger seat. When you turn into a corner, you can just feel that weight lolloping from side to side. And I've spent some time driving this car, and it just feels a bit sort of cumbersome, this car, doesn't it?
It really does. It's because it's not been developed, and the whole platform hasn't been developed with an EV in mind, the way the I-Pace and the Model 3 have, and it really shows, it really feels.
It does, yeah.
I mean, everything, the steering's not that great, it's just a bit dead.
And this has got the worst brake pedal out of all of the 3 cars
Let's
here.
give it a go, let's give it a go. Ooh, yeah, that's really
It's
good.
grabby, and it's
really
difficult to sort of
grabby.
modulate the pressure.
Yeah.
It's just not nice.
It's not nice.
And it's surprising for an Audi, because normally, as you know in Carbuyer reviews of Audis, we just praise them to the hilt because
they make great cars.
they make great cars, but this isn't one of them.
But no, this isn't that this is a bad car. It's not.
It's a good car.
It's a very good car. It just doesn't have that lightness and that dynamic feel that, say, the I-Pace have, and it has, and even the Model 3, to be honest, has got as well.
But that weight and all that, those negative things we've been saying, do also play in the Audi's favour when it comes to comfort and refinement, because this is a super quiet car, isn't it?
It sounds daft to call an EV quiet, doesn't it? But the thing with them is you really notice so much more the external noise.
Because of course you haven't got the engine whirring away, have you? So you're aware of wind noise and tyre noise and all this kind of. And in the Audi, it's the quietest, and it also just goes down the road nicer than the other two. It's just more plush. It feels slightly more luxurious than the other two, doesn't it?
It does. It's really well insulated, really quiet, and you do get a very nice, refined drive. It's just that it drives like a family SUV and not a particularly fun car.
No. So it's quiet, refined, posh, but it's not that fun to drive. Feels big. It feels a bit cumbersome.
In fact, cut everything that I've said in this and just put.
Just use that bit,
Just
basically.
use that bit.
I don't know why we employ you, actually. Just leave it to me.
As we said at the start, this isn't really a like-for-like test. But for both of us, the Model 3 and the I-Pace are the two that really stand out. Whilst the Audi is a good car, it's just not that remarkable when you compare it with the other two. The I-Pace is a fantastic all-round car that just happens to be electric and is worthy of all the awards it's won. But if you're after a premium EV at a more affordable price, then the Model 3 does take some beating.
There's so much more to say about each of these cars, so take a look at the individual reviews here on the Carbuyer YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and switch on those notifications. Thanks for watching.